Terra Classic, the now near-worthless token known as LUNC, which at one time was worth $119.18 per token, which is now down nearly 100% of its value, having fallen to a low on May 13th, 2022, during the Terra Luna collapse 4 years ago, reaching the price of 401675. Price is currently trading at 220.13% above that low. And although Terra Classic has had a very nice run this week, reaching levels at over 100% increase, will this rally continue? And as always, this is not financial advice and is nothing short of the rantings and ravings of a man who, when he was 16, was arrested for a minor consumption and proceeded to throw up in a brand new police car. And he was not happy about it either. Terra's native token Luna reached the peak market capitalization of over $41 billion in April of 2022, making it one of the top 10 largest cryptocurrencies in the world at that time, and which now only has a current market cap of $304.2 million, and also having a total supply of 6.48 trillion LUNC. This is an absolutely insane amount of tokens. And in case you're not aware, here's some background information on what is now called LUNC. Luna Classic is the native token of the now crashed Terra network. It was previously known as Luna, but was renamed to Luna Classic LUNC after the crash and the subsequent launch of the new Luna blockchain. TerraLuna 2.0 was launched to minimize investor losses and suffering and provided a better alternative to LUNC following the crash. A significant amount of its native token was airdropped to holders of the old UST and LUNC as compensation. TerraLuna 2.0 is a hard fork of the original Terra blockchain. Luna is the native token of the TerraLuna 2.0 blockchain, while LUNC is the native token of the old TerraLuna Classic blockchain. LUNC is instrumental to the stability of the UST stablecoin, while Luna exists as a standalone asset. Essentially, after the original blockchain had completely collapsed, devastating every single investor, causing billions of dollars to be lost, they immediately came out with TerraLuna 2.0 in an attempt to salvage what little trust they had left, trying to divert and shift it into an entirely different token. And still to this very day, faith and confidence in the Lunasphere remains completely gone, with the exception of a small amount of people that are currently within the wealth transfer community who currently believe that we are going to see LUNC go to absolutely incredible levels in the future. But is this really possible? Since there has been a complete collapse of trust and faith in the TerraLuna blockchain, because generally once faith is lost, it never comes back. And there is also quite a few different things that I have found that I'm going to demonstrate in this video that are very suspicious, that make it appear as if the Luna collapse was absolutely intentional. And we all know that the people who fancy themselves as the elite, who are actually just a group of living human parasites, like to use symbology to hide the true meaning behind what they are doing and what their plans are. And as the once great comedian George Carlin once said, they are symbol-minded. They also like to use numerology, playing with numbers to hide meanings so that they can put them right in front of you without you actually being able to understand what it is that they are trying to communicate, unless you are one of the, quote, initiated, unquote, which translates into complete slave, and in most cases, idiot, as they are currently, no matter what we attempt to do about it or what we think about it, are the architects of our world. And just like their God, with a little g, of course, who the Masons call the Grand Architect, who is the false light, they too act as architects, using numbers to create the world around them that they would like to see. And I also find it very interesting that they do leave us these signs, because they become blatantly obvious if you know what you're looking for. And before the crash, when this token was simply referred to as Luna, if we plug this into the Gematria calculator, it gives us the value of 261. 2 plus 6 plus 1 is 9, relating to other words that we can find, like Cheetos. And if we then plug in LUNC, which is the post-collapse name of this token, we get the value 263. 2 plus 6 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So Luna plus LUNC equals 911. And the value of 263 also relates with quite a few different words in the English language, like cup. Now, jumping over and taking a look at Terra Classic, now known as LUNC, which is the post-collapse version of Luna, it is currently trading at the rank of 137. We can see that the price was trading right up here, near the all-time high price of $119.18 before this happened. If we zoom in on the price, we can see that it's basically only gone down until recently, in the last couple days, where we saw this move right here, which at its peak had gained more than 100% from the lows. If we also jump over and take a look at the new TerraLuna 2.0 token, which is now known as Luna, and which replaced the LUNC token, it is currently trading at 0.1022, just over 10 cents. We can see that 4 years ago, after the collapse had occurred, this token was released, just as we talked about earlier, and was trading at the price of $19.54. It is also now trading 99.5% below that price, and is still, right now, only trading 156.04% above the all-time low set 2 months ago. When this token first came out, you can see that it was up here. It basically did the exact same thing, collapsing. And if we dial in, we can see that it has only ever gone down. It has also followed a very similar pattern to what we were just seeing on LUNC, having this rally in the last couple of days that has been very nice, but is not what I would think would put an entire community in an uproar, believing that the price of this token is finally going to go to the moon, especially after losing the vast majority of its value throughout the last 4 years. And it just never seems to end. Now jumping over and taking a look at Terra Classic USD, also known as USTC. This was the stablecoin that backed the original Luna blockchain, which after coming completely depegged from the dollar is what led to the collapse of the original Luna token, basically going to near worthless levels. It's currently ranked at 507 by market cap. We can also see that it is now currently trading 99.33% below its high when it was trading at stable values as a stablecoin. And even with this recent move we've seen, is only trading up 71.8% above the all-time low also set 2 months ago. But when we go to the charts, we can see the exact same thing that we saw in the other two tokens, LUNC and the current Luna 2.0 blockchain, as price was trading stable and completely dropped off a cliff. If you've ever wondered what the definition of an absolute loss in confidence is, you're looking at it right here. We're seeing that exact same thing on this chart that we saw on LUNC and the new Luna 2.0 blockchain, all three of which have an absolutely undeniable loss in faith and investor confidence, which still to this day has not even remotely started to move in the opposite direction. Not even with the price rally that we've seen over the last couple of days. If you'd like to support my channel and help to give me the fuel that I need to continue making these videos on YouTube, the easiest way to do that is to join my Patreon. There are 3 paid membership levels that you can choose from. Or if you've been thinking about trading spot, or if you're just looking for a place to swap your cryptos for 0 fees, use my link and sign up for BitUnix. You'll be glad that you did. But I have found some very interesting things, and it's led me to create a very interesting theory since coming across this information last night. I was actually on my computer updating my LUNC charts while listening to a YouTube video that was recommended by one of the Master Tier members on my Patreon. And as I was updating that chart, I was simply just listening to that video in the background as entertainment. And I found it very interesting because the author of this video, on the channel that I won't mention but is very well known, his name happens to be Jordan, was talking about the Terra Luna collapse, which really caught my attention because it was strange that I was actually working on the chart, then he suddenly started talking about it. After listening to what he had to say, I started to do some investigating, going a little bit deeper than just the charts themselves, and I found some very interesting things, which also led me to, which is very wild and very unlikely to happen, but is a theory nonetheless. We can see here that the price of Terra Luna, LUNA, hit its lowest point on May 13, 2022, during the collapse of the Terra ecosystem. On that day, the price of Luna plummeted to an all-time low, effectively rendering the token worthless. So basically, the price after the collapse reached its lowest point on May 13th, 2022. Now, there's a couple interesting things that we'll see here. First, if we take the collapse date of May 13th, May is the 5th month. If we add 1 plus 3, we get 4. So essentially, May 13th would equal 54. Now, if we go and look at the moon cycles of 2022, we can see that by coming down here to May 16th, 2022, that there was a full moon exactly 3 days after the Terra Luna collapse occurred, hitting the lowest point in price, which was marked on May 13th, 2022. Now, if we go over to the current moon cycle that will occur this coming May in 2026, we can see that the full moon will be on May 1st. Now, to where during the collapse, the price reached its lowest point on May 13th, 2022. 3 days later, there was a full moon, and if we add up the date of the low of the collapse, it equals the number 54. So if instead of 3 days ahead, we now add 3 days to the full moon, being 1, 2, 3, it takes us to May 4th, which would also equal a number 5 for the month of May and a 4 for the date, also equaling 54. Now that might not sound very interesting by itself, but when we go to the weekly chart that I was working on last night before I started investigating those particular numbers, discovering that the gematria value of Luna equaled 9, and after the collapse it being changed to LUNC equaled 11, which equaled 9/11, an emergency, which is exactly what occurred, then finding out that the low on the crash date was 5/13, equaling 54, with the potential equivalent coming in this May, being on May 4th, also equaling 54. I found that date of May 4th to be very interesting because I found the exact same correlation resting right here on my charts on May 4th, which could potentially also once again be marking another low in LUNC, now in the post-collapse 4 years later. Now we can see the LUNC has basically been trading in this well-defined channel for quite some time. Going back to the month of May 2022, price traded up here into the red zone on my Fibonacci's, hitting the 4.5 Fibonacci level nearly perfectly. We can see that price has traded down in a perfect ABC zigzag pattern within this channel, marking the low here and marking the top up here with the start of the A wave and the B wave termination. We can see that the price had a 5-wave move to the downside for the A, a 3-wave move to the upside for the B, and is now currently trading in another 5-wave move to the downside, which is currently trading within the wave 4. During the flash crash, the price traded down exactly to the opposite side that it did right here, trading down into the -3 Fibonacci nearly perfectly, marking the wave 3 termination. Price then jumped up here after the flash crash and started this rally that we have seen the last couple of days. Keep in mind, this is the weekly chart, which has been a very nice candle, which a lot of people have been chasing as well, because the wealth transfer community believes that this price is going to absolutely go parabolic. But when looking at the current chart, that doesn't seem to be the case. This seems to be a bull trap. We can see that the price traded right up to the 0 line in the equilibrium zone right here, indicated by these 5 lines, and was rejected off of the very bottom of that equilibrium zone. The wave 4 of this 5-wave subwave to the downside will be an ABC, and we can see here that it has done just that, with this being an A up, a B down, and a C up to this rejection, which means that this very well could mark the point, or at least the area, if it continues to make a few additional candles, of the wave 4 termination being resting right here, which means that if this is the case, we still have the wave 5 to the downside. But if this is the wave 4 termination here or close to it in this area, and we are in fact going to move into forming this wave 5 to the downside to complete this primary wave C right here, then we could expect to see prices drop considerably lower than where this rally began right here. In fact, it would actually even be going lower than the levels we saw during the flash crash, which topped out right here at the -3 line. Instead, this wave 5 termination could likely end up right down here at the 1.618. Because in terms of Elliott Wave rules, these zigzag patterns, which are 5, 3, and 5 as far as the wave counts, this wave C very likely could reach the 1.618 as measured from wave A, which we can see when clicking on it that the parameter here is set off the A wave termination, and the second one is set up here at the beginning. So essentially, we're using the length of the A wave in itself as the measurement and adding 1.618 to it, which gives us the 1.618 resting right down here at 40,11784. And subsequently, I don't know if it's a coincidence or me just jumping to conclusions, it could certainly be either, but seeing how perfectly the flash crash bounced off of this lower trend line right here, I find it very interesting that we are seeing all of these points line up right here at the point of the 1.618 resting at this level, lining up exactly with that date, which is 3 days after the full moon in May, on May 4th, 54. Now there is, however, one part of this pattern on this chart that makes me wonder if it might not exactly work out this way. Keep in mind this is a theory and this is just something that I'm looking for, and in a lot of ways I think it's kind of strange. But still, it's weird how both of them would potentially be marking a bottom with the moon phases. But when we come up to the wave 4 retracement, which we are currently in on that 5th wave of the C leg of the ABC currently, the typical retracement levels will be to the 50% fib, and the wave 4 rarely retraces more than 50% of the wave 3, and it can never retrace past the wave 1 territory. So even though it is rare for it to retrace beyond the 50% mark, it can retrace beyond the 50% mark. But as far as the wave 4, it can never go past the wave 1 territory. And we can see by going off of the start of the wave 3 down to the wave 3 termination, right here, we can see the 0.5 fib is resting right here. This current price rally punched right through the 0.5 fib, even went a little beyond the 0.618 and reached as high as the 0.702, nearly perfectly to the 702. So even though it's not very common for price to retrace beyond the 0.5 fib, it blew well beyond it, coming up to the 702. And I'm certainly not saying that this is going to happen, but as we move into this 5th wave to the downside, it will be very interesting to see if in fact it does come down and set a bottom right here on May 4th. following the exact same pattern that we saw previously, with the previous pattern bottoming 3 days before the full moon, and with this one bottoming exactly 3 days after the full moon in the month of May. But in regard to Luna breaking out of here and going off to crazy, insane levels that the wealth transfer community has been waiting for and counting on, I think they're jumping the gun. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're seeing the wave 4 topping out, and we're going to be moving into the wave 5. It's very likely that this run occurred basically as a bull trap to set up people chasing it to the upside so that they could eventually create liquidity to push prices down lower, liquidating all of the traders that entered in this area, chasing this candle. So I would be very weary about buying into LUNC until, at a minimum, we get to see what's going to happen with this fifth wave. It certainly does not have to come down to this area that I'm theorizing. This is just my wild about theory. And the wave 5 certainly could be truncated. It could come down here and bounce off of these lower levels. It doesn't have to go past the wave 3 termination to remain valid. We could end up seeing something like this. But I think the most likely candidate is for the price to come down with the wave 5 back down to this lower trend line, back down where it matches and meets up perfectly with the 1.618 right here, which would give us multiple levels of confluence. And ultimately, I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, but I can tell you one thing, I'll be watching it like a hawk. So good luck and have a great day.